Subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Kautilya's Fincast.
Welcome to Kautilya's Fincast for April 21st to 30th, 2021.
Let's begin with corporate news.
Indiabulls said it will originate retail home loans, as per the jointly drawn-up credit policy, and retain 20% of the loan in its books, while the remaining 80% will be on HDFC Limited's books. The country's largest domestic airline, Indigo, which is operated by Interglobe Aviation Limited, said it is sourcing 4 Airbus A321ceo aircraft, each of which will be converted from passenger jets to a full freighter configuration. Payment provider to small and medium enterprises, Instamojo, announced that it has acquired Bengaluru-based virtual theatre and vernacular content platform, Showman. Tata Motors' own Jaguar Land Rover announced plans to suspend production at 2 of its plants in the UK due to COVID-19 pandemic-related supply chain disruptions, which have resulted in a shortage of automotive parts. Fashion-based social commerce platform, Browsin, that soft-launched in India, is set to invest $5 million in the country, cataloging Indian and international labels and capitalizing on the growing fashion influencer ecosystem. Ola Electric Mobility Private Limited, which is setting up a mega factory to produce e-scooters, will invest $2 billion in the next 5 years to build an electric two-wheeler charging network called Ola Hypercharger Network along with its partners. Shrey Equipment Finance Limited said it has appointed KPMG Assurance and Consulting Services LLP as a forensic auditor on the advice of its bankers. Managed office space provider, Incaspace has launched a 500-seat center in Kakkanad, in Kochi. The new facility was launched in 2 phases, of 300 seats and 200 seats respectively. Homegrown short video app, Chingari has partnered with a Marathi production house, Karak Entertainment, to strengthen its regional content library and presence. HCL Technologies has claimed that it is shifting the workload from India to other geographies in order to sustain business continuity amid the second wave of record high COVID cases. Westin Hotels and Resorts, a premium wellness chain of hotels owned by Marriott International, announced the opening of its first property in Goa. RIL and its partner BP have begun production from the satellite cluster gas field in Block KGD6 off the east coast of India. Bajaj Finance says that despite the disruptions, the company remains open for business across geographies, in line with local administration advisories. Media and entertainment conglomerate, Walt Disney may pull the plug on as many as 18 television channels in Southeast Asia and Hong Kong this October. Fidelity Investments Incorporation is ramping up a business that helps money managers profit on those eager to bet against stocks. Fidelity launches a platform for fund managers looking to lend out their holdings to other investors, including the short seller. Sony's January to March profit zoomed 8-fold to 107 billion yen from a year earlier, as people stuck at home during the coronavirus pandemic turned to the Japanese electronics and entertainment company's video games and other visual content. Business-to-business e-commerce firm, Udaan, has announced an employee stock ownership plan liquidity program worth Rs 165 to 175 crore for its employees. The Competition Commission of India has approved the acquisition by Tata Digital Limited of up to 64.3% of the total share capital of Supermarket Grocery Supplies Private Limited and its sole control over innovative retail concepts. The company that runs Big Basket, partnering with the Government of India, Facebook will begin rolling out its Vaccine Finder tool on the Facebook mobile app in India, available in 17 languages, to help people identify places nearby to get the vaccine. Nestle has agreed to buy vitamin maker Bountiful Company for $5.75 billion, becoming a world leader in the field of minerals and supplements, as the pandemic boosts demand for pills for health-conscious consumers.
Let's begin with market news.
Netflix shares plunged after it reported cooling growth in paid subscriptions that had caught fire during the pandemic. Paid memberships grew less than expected to 208 million. Tokyo stocks opened lower on 23 April, following falls on Wall Street, as worries over a surge in virus infections at home and abroad weighed on the market. Shares of Indiabulls Housing Finance jumped 12.4% after the company announced a strategic co-lending partnership with HDFC Limited, offering housing loans at competitive rates. Domestic institutional investors' ownership in BSE 500 companies fell to its lowest level in the 7 quarters to the 31st of March. This comes after many months of redemption pressures faced by mutual funds. Wipro Limited overtook Noida-headquartered HCL Technologies to become the third largest Indian IT services company by market capitalization. It has regained this spot after a gap of 18 months. Gasmaker stocks have caught the eye of investors amid the surge in demand for oxygen, as the sharp spike in COVID cases has overwhelmed India's healthcare system. India has expressed interest in buying one of the 1 million barrel cargoes. Guyana's government is entitled to test the crude in its refineries. ICICI Bank reported a 261% jump in its March quarter consolidated net profit at 4,403 crore, as against 1,221 crore in the year-ago period. Private equity firm Blackstone Group has made an offer to acquire an additional 26% stake in Indian IT outsourcing services provider Mphasis Limited for 8,262 crore. Wellness Forever, an omni-channel retail pharmacy chain, backed by investors such as Adar Poonawalla of Serum Institute of India Limited, has started working on an IPO that will see it raise 1,000 to 1,200 crore. Copper prices soared to 10-year highs, as concerns about supplies from Chile, sliding inventories, a lower dollar, and expectations of stronger demand from top consumer China triggered fresh buying. Shares of Vedanta Limited rose around 5% after India's Tamil Nadu state government allowed its shuttered copper smelter to produce oxygen for 4 months amid a nationwide shortage, as coronavirus cases soar. Jindal Power and Steel Limited have approved the sale of its power subsidiary, Jindal Power Limited, to World One, a promoter group company, for 3,015 crore. Indian investors opened a record 14.2 million new Demat accounts in financial year 21, nearly 3 times the figure in the previous fiscal year, as the global pandemic and business disruptions opened up new investment opportunities. Federal Reserve officials are wrapping up a 2-day policy meeting, at which they are likely to maintain ultra-low interest rates to support the economy's accelerating recovery. Zomato has filed for an IPO of up to 8,250 crore, draft papers submitted to the market regulator. It had recently raised $250 million from investors, including Pora Management and Fidelity Management and Research. Elon Musk sent out a cryptic tweet on Dogecoin, ahead of hosting of American television sketch comedy show, on the 8th of May 2021. This sent prices of Dogecoin more than 20% higher to 33 cents. SEBI slapped a fine of 1 crore on Aptech Limited for violating insider trading norms back in 2016. Market regulator SEBI tentatively extended the period for the listed companies to submit their Q4 results as well as annual results. Amid the second wave of coronavirus pandemic, S&P 500 and Nasdaq indexes hit record levels after stellar earnings from Apple and Facebook powered a rally in tech stocks, while upbeat economic data supported bets of a swifter economic recovery.
Let's begin with economy news.
The country of more than 1.3 billion people is now nearing 3 lakh new coronavirus cases per day, triple the worst daily figures during the peak of the first wave. India was elected to the executive board of the WFP, along with France, Ghana, the Republic of Korea, Russia, and Sweden, by acclamation for a 3-year term beginning on 1st of January 2022, observing that India's energy demand is all set to increase in coming years. Officials told a US think tank that the future of the growth of energy demand will come from India. Since the trade totals with South Asian neighbors remain slow, many Indian infrastructure projects in the regions are still incomplete, and its neighbors are disappointed with discriminations in aid. It was the overhang from stress in the financial sector that had been the key contributor to the economic slowdown in India in the period prior to the pandemic. India's so-called blue economy, which involves harnessing the resources of the ocean in a sustainable, equitable, and efficient way, would quadruple by 2050. The Indian Navy supports and safeguards this economy. The IMF upgraded India's economic growth forecast to 12.5%, the quickest rate among major economies. Now, as COVID-19 cases surge, that bullish view is looking increasingly in doubt. The RBI surprised markets by announcing an rupees 1 lakh crore government bond purchase program, which helped bring down interest rates. Going forward, ample surplus systemic liquidity and system would remain in surplus. The country is in grips of the brutal second wave of COVID-19. Prime Minister Modi told state chief ministers they must use lockdowns as a last resort to stop the spread of coronavirus. India finds itself caught in the wake of exceptionalism and premature triumphalism. The stage of political applause was prompted by a dip in caseload and the spike of cures. The RBI has repeatedly assured bond markets that it would ensure ample liquidity in the banking system and help smoothly execute the government's massive 12.06 trillion rupees market borrowing program. The US Chamber of Commerce warned that the Indian economy, the world's sixth largest, could falter as a result of a record spike in coronavirus cases, creating drag for the global economy. Compared with the fiscal first quarter of 2020, the economy could grow more than 25%. That's because India's GDP contracted nearly by 24% in the same period last year. India's economy is expected to grow 11% in financial year 2021, which ends on March 31, 2022, amid a strong vaccine drive, ADB said in its flagship Patient Development Outlook 2021. The resurgence in COVID-19, if not contained in time, so risks protracted restrictions and disruptions supply chains, with consequent inflationary pressures. If prices of goods and services rise, it could dent households. While India's ferocious COVID-19 resurgence is shocking, some institutions have started to review their estimation for Indian GDP 2021-22, with Oxford Economics lowering India's growth to 10.2% from 11.8%. India continues to remain a critical market for a Canadian pension fund, which manages over $475.7 billion Canadian dollars in assets, and funds will continue to bet on long-term growth opportunities in Indian economies. In March 2020, India imposed the strictest lockdown on a large economy. For an industry reliant on mills, not designed to sit idle, and non-physical shipment of bulky slabs and coils, this spelled disaster. India is required to raise its investment from below 30% of GDP to 35 to 40%, and the exports share of GDP must go up from 5% to 28% of its GDP.